G'day, I'm David, and we're here for the launch in Australia of the new Mahindra in the smallest SUV category. But I mentioned its category more than its name. Its name is actually the XUV 3XO, because that doesn't tell you much at all. The category is a better description. Mahindra has been known in Australia, been here for 20 years, for its rough and tough vehicles in the rural environment, particularly the Ute and their big SUVs. But now they're moving much more towards what they call sophistication, technology excellence in the urban area. So let's have a look. We'll have a review of the outside, inside, and the features that it offers, as well as a very competitive price. So first, a quick roundup of the key features that Mahindra is pitching to grab your attention with their XUV 3XO. The official fuel consumption is listed at 6.5 litres per 100 kilometres on the combined cycle, which includes both urban and highway driving. But the breakdown is revealing. Because there is no hybrid, the urban figure is 17% higher than the average. And it's in the urban areas where a car like this will spend most of its life. Colour choices? The base model comes in four, one bright red and the more subdued white, grey and black. The higher spec model swaps out the black for a striking yellow, giving it a bit more flair. The higher spec models also have a black roof, giving a two-tone effect. It's compact on the outside, but space inside is surprisingly generous. To me, the standout feature is the amount of space and comfort in the second row. It's something more than I expected from such a compact vehicle. Inside, you get two 10.25-inch screens, one for the driver and one for infotainment. The equipment list is impressive, even on the entry-level AX5L. Things I'm particularly happy to see include Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, dual-zone climate control, passive keyless entry, tyre pressure monitoring, rear wiper and washer, roof rails, and a Level 2 advanced driver assistance systems. Step up to the AX7L and the list grows to include black leatherette seats, a sunroof, Harman Kardon premium audio, 17-inch alloy wheels, front parking assist, a cooled glove box, and a 360-degree surround view system with blind view monitoring. So let's take a closer look at the outdoor style and a more practical look at the interior space, and then we'll go for a drive to see how the whole package stacks up on the road.
If you value independent journalism or simply enjoyed the video, please support the channel by hitting like and subscribe.
The outside is really a very important point, that it doesn't look just boring. It has its own character, and I think they try for that. If you look at the front here, a lot of these cars now have fairly thin lights, but a big sort of pod down here. This is incorporating all the lights just in that shape there. So nothing much here. And this part here doesn't look quite as sophisticated as it might up close, and not a lot of grille area. But overall, it's got its own certain appeal to it. Now, I have a look down the side here. And this is the upmarket version, 17-inch wheels, which aren't the spokes. They're more just sort of like blocks, almost in its own style, which I think look interesting, and particularly if you see them as they're spinning. Another thing you do note that it has quite a long bonnet there, which contrasts particularly with the back, which is short and stubby. But it hasn't compromised everything about space. Oh, by the way, on the side, not a lot of angles or creases. A strong one here perhaps is the strongest, a little bit of around the sill that adds a bit to the idea of almost its height by blackening that bit out at the bottom. But it's at the back that I think it probably does make a good point. Coming to the back, you want people to following the car to say, oh, that's a bit different. Now, they've got a lot of LED lightings, and that's quite common now, strip sort of lighting, but this is rather squarish, blockish in a way. This angle here, it's not the sort of flow around the side. Is that a problem? I don't know. Well, it's not a problem. It's one that makes it look a little bit different. Now, inside, we've seen that it's got a stubby boot. So let's open the back. A bit over 360 litres of capacity, 364. And, that's not bad, really, for this smallest category of SUV. Underneath this thing, we have a space saver tyre, which is not without its benefit compared to just a patching kit. So overall, I think that's some usable spaces. But let's just have a quick look inside. We'll start at the back. Now, they pride themselves in the space that's available. They claim they can sit 3 people across there, and I think that looks like a fair amount of room. I just put my umbrella down for a minute and hop in. Now, you can get in quite well. It's got a big sunroof. It is the upmarket model, so there's not a huge amount of room there, but it's not bad. And it's a little bit of almost theatre-like in that I'm sitting and I've got a pretty good view, with the exception, of course, of the headrest, which is understandable as well. But that sunroof removes a lot of the claustrophobia that you can often get in a car. And it's got a good full air conditioning in the back and a USB plug. And I can fit my feet under there. Look, I'm reasonable support here as well. I think that's not bad at all for what is in the smallest category. And getting out is not as hard as some. In the front, I've got some other stuff, but we'll just have a quick look. It's not overcomplicated, but there are a lot of features, and I'll come to that in a while, that I think that selling this vehicle will be a lot to do with its looks to a degree, but also what you get for your money. It's a great price. Sophisticated? Well, it's not technically sophisticated as much as some, but the features are right up there in what you get and what you can play with and what you can feel comfortable with. This has a 1.2 litre turbocharged 3-cylinder engine and does have 3 modes, which are described or given a title not in the usual comfort, eco or performance. These are called zip, zap and zoom. The first thing about getting in any car is whether you feel comfortable. I found this quite easy to adjust. I'm sitting up high, but I still have an inch or 2 headroom here. I've moved the seat down a little, but not down as far as it will go. Not big performance figures, 82 kilowatts, 200 newton meters of torque. But I will say that the torque curve, they tell me, is very flat, so you're getting maximum torque from about 1,200 revs, and I think that's important. It's not a heavy car. It's about, I think, 1,300, around that figure of kilograms. So, in the urban area, I'm comfortable. I'm not feeling any sort of disbenefit because of the power. We'll see what happens when we get out onto the motorway. This doesn't, of course, have a head-up display, and that's perhaps not surprising. The steering's actually light, but it's not devoid of feeling. Sometimes they can feel so artificial. This feels like I still have a good connection to the road. It's not like a computer game where you're just moving something or other without any engagement with it. Now, I'm in Zap. This is 3 modes, not called Eco, Normal and Sport, but it's called Zip, Zap and zoom. One of the things it doesn't do is it doesn't make the accelerator super sensitive. You've still got to push it hard to get performance. Some cars with much bigger engines, when they remap for a sport function, it means that what you had been used to in pushing the accelerator quite firmly, if you do it in sports mode, you can be surprised by the outcome. I'm trying now to go back to, that's it. Is it? Yeah, I'm up to zip. It's lighter in steering, but it hasn't lost the feel. So I think that's good. I'll go up to zap, which sounds a bit optimistic. So this is zap, a little bit more feel to it, but now we'll go into zoom. There is, not a map, but a very little, small font indication of the navigation. I hadn't seen that. So I'd panicked when I went out of the big screen and lost my map as I was looking at the mode of driving, just when I needed to be given some direction. It just keeps telling me to check the speed limit, what I thought was good, but now it's telling me more often than I want. And when it says check the speed limit, it gets rid of my directions, my navigation directions. Oh, I've got to turn my adaptive cruise control standby set. I like how it tells me that it's adaptive. Sometimes you set the cruise and it says cruise set, and you realise that it's not adaptive as you get uncomfortably close to the car in front of you. There is a circle, there is a dial for speed, but it blocks out the speed above the speed limit. So it looks like I've just got a short dial going from 0 to 80 kilometres an hour. I'm on what we call a sandpaper type road. That's where they've laid tar and rolled aggregate into it, so it's not the most smooth, pure tar type surface. That's the one that will tend to give you obviously more road noise. So sign recognition, I'd passed a 100k speed limit sign, but it hadn't picked it up. Oh, it's actually got a camera view in front of me. When I put my left-hand blinker between the dials, there's a camera view very close there. I'm in zoom mode, and I found when I was going at 100k on a motorway, it felt quite heavy. At these slower speeds, it's just a little bit softer than I would like. I think the check speed limit comes up whenever it sees a speed sign, and therefore is not relating it to the speed you're doing. It's bringing up not just the speed limit signs, but the speed advisory signs as well. Mahindra in Australia has an interesting dilemma. It made its name just recently with a very cost-effective ute, which was practical, simple in its design, some say ugly, but nonetheless very well priced for a diesel ute as it was, although they went sometimes to petrol engines. But now that ute can't be sold in the Australian market. It doesn't meet certain requirements, particularly I think in the safety area. So they're really having to push other models. Mahindra, an Indian company, it actually has a very large range of vehicles in the home country, which represent a pretty extensive fleet of vehicles. There's a new ute coming, but we won't see it here for a number of months, 18 months, I think, 1.5 years. So, can we get into the small market? What sort of market is Mahindra stepping into with this new model? In Australia, SUVs dominate the new car market, accounting for around 60% of all vehicle sales so far this year. The next biggest category is light commercial vehicles, largely made up of utes and pickups. Now, within the SUV classification, there are 5 size-based segments, from light through to upper large. Despite all the noise about oversized off-road style SUVs clogging up the suburbs, the large and upper large segments make up just over a quarter of all SUV sales. That means almost 3/4 of SUV buyers are choosing light to medium-sized models. Vehicles that are usually more tall hatchbacks or station wagons than rugged off-roaders. Mahindra's new entry, the XUV 3XO, lands in the smallest SUV category, which itself makes up 8% of total SUV sales. It's a competitive space, but also one where a few models dominate. The Mazda CX-3 is clearly in the number 1 position, while the Toyota Yaris Cross has had a real growth spurt this year and now holds second place. While there are still a total of 10 different models on sale in the light category, the top 5 account for a staggering 93% of all sales. 2 vehicles in this category stand out for very different reasons. In third place, the Suzuki Jimny, a genuine off-road with proper 4x4 credentials. Then there's the Hyundai Insta, the only fully electric model in the category. The Yaris Cross, of course, brings a hybrid powertrain to the mix. Suzuki actually has 2 players here, the rugged Jimny, as we mentioned, and the more city-focused, quirky-looking Ignis. And now they've just added a third, the new Fronx. We'll take a closer look at that one in an upcoming review. Price is critical in this segment, which is typically targeted at young people buying their first new car or older drivers looking to downsize with minimal outlay. Mahindra has set the drive-away price for this new XUV 3XO from the 1st of September at $24,000 for the base model AX5L and $27,000 for the higher spec AX7L. All colours except white attract an extra $495, though there's an introductory offer until the 31st of August of just $500 extra for each model. They're backing it with capped price servicing for up to 6 years or 85,000 kilometres. That's a little over 14,000 kilometres a year, which is slightly above average. So some will do well below that, but others will tend to go above. And to round it out, there's a 7-year, 150,000 kilometre factory warranty plus 7 years of roadside assistance. These figures are extremely price competitive, and clearly Mahindra is pushing price as one of its strongest features. Well, we've been for quite a long drive and it's still raining, but in terms of the car, I think that its sophistication is in some ways catching up. It's not electrified in any way, but it is a good example of moving out of the rural into the urban. And while there are some certain quirky features in driving it that I think I could get a bit used to but never particularly love, it's usable in that way. And we suffer from that 1 week unfamiliarity syndrome where we don't get to feel comfortable with a car and its quirkiness. Its looks, I think, is enough to make it stand out in an era that hasn't worked particularly well if you look at things like the short-lived Kia Soul or even things like the Toyota Ruckus, which was very boxy and square. This has a certain squareness to it, but I think enough of a character. Not electrified, as I say, not class-leading necessarily in all those technologies, It's a performer without necessarily being punch in the back. It's got enough. I think that's really what it's all about. It has enough, and it doesn't sound like it's wheezing if you do rev it out. Overall, a fantastic price, and that's where it's really going to, I think, shake up the market and create an impression. And the features that are in it for that value for money, I think are going to be its strongest points.
Have your own thoughts? We'd love to hear them, good, bad, or in between. Have a chat with us by dropping a comment below.